Did we just watch Tom Brady play his final NFL game? We got all that and much more on today's episode of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, football fans? Welcome into another episode of Locked On NFL, your daily podcast covering all the biggest stories around the National Football League in right around 30 minutes every single Monday through Friday. Proud part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks so much for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day, every day, where you can find us free and available on all podcast apps and on YouTube as well. And it is Tuesday or Monday night if you're catching us live. So we've got Luke Braun at Luke Braun NFL on Twitter, myself, Ross Jackson at Ross Jackson Nola on Twitter. Today, we're going to be breaking down and updating you on the Sean Payton coaching search. He's officially interviewed with one team, 3 more interviews still on the books for him, presumably all this week. We'll take a look at the NFC and AFC playoff pictures as one division is heavily represented and 2 divisions are officially eliminated. But first, has Tom Brady played his final game in the NFL? We got all that coming up for you today in today's episode of Locked On NFL, brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Daily fantasy made easy. All you got to do is pick 2 to 5 players, choose whether or not they're going to come in at more or less than their PrizePicks projection, and bam, get those right. You can win up to 10 times your entry, and first-time users can get a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 by entering the promo code Locked On over at PrizePicks.com. We'll tell you more about them later. Luke, Tom Brady, did we just watch him play his final game in 2022, or really just watch him play his final game?
We have to have, right?
Right?
I mean, we thought it was
45 years old
last year.
Mm-hmm.
He retired
last year. It was. Yeah, for 40 whole days.
Yeah, to spend some time with the kids. Came out of that.
That went well.
This season was not good for Tom Brady. I think every Bucs fan will tell you that this was it should have been over. He should have been able to ride off into the sunset after a respectable showing in 2020 and 2021. Win a Super Bowl in 2020, go to the divisional round in 21 and lose to the eventual Super Bowl winner, and then win the worst division in the league and get absolutely waxed by the Dallas Cowboys in your own house. That is a rough way to go out.
Yeah.
It's how every quarterback, it's like how every athlete goes out, though. Everybody comes back for 1 year they shouldn't come back for, and this was Tom Brady's year, I think. So yeah. I would be really shocked if we saw Tom Brady come back for next year. I mean, I don't know. He's insane, so I'm not going to put anything past him, but I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah, I'm not ready to count him out just yet. I'm really not. I think it's very
not ready
possible.
To count out touchdown, Tom?
Not just yet. I think it's very possible that he's back in 2023. I know he said he wanted to play until he was 45. He will be 45 as the season begins next year. Actually, he's already 45. And so I don't see it. And maybe this is just my, nostalgic brain getting ahead of itself and saying, oh no, we watched the greatest football player of all time or the greatest quarterback of all time go out there and dominate for the past 20 plus years. I don't want to see it come to an end. And so, no, I don't think that it's ready. It could just be my denial setting in, but look, it could be back in Tampa. Could be, could be that he's, in New England again, where there's quarterback conversation ongoing there seemingly every single week. Now, of course, they had a defensive coordinator calling their offensive plays for them last year, so that was a weird experiment. But the Las Vegas Raiders could be looking for, a quarterback. There's some spicy spots that he might be able to end up, but and I don't know. I don't know. I'm not ready to count him out yet. There's just something in me that's not ready to do it yet, Luke. I can't do it yet.
I've got a pitch for you.
Mm-hmm.
A Fox broadcasting booth or CBS broadcasting booth next to Kevin Harlan.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good way to be. I mean, then you still get to see him on Sundays, right? You still get to see him every now and then, stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't think Tom Brady is ready to be finished just yet. There are some folks that. Oh, go ahead.
If he is coming back, and let's say not to Tampa for whatever reason.
Yep.
Where does he go?
If not to Tampa, I think the Raiders make sense. I think
I
the
have a
Raiders
really
are a spot.
spicy one.
Could be the Carolina Panthers as well.
Oh,
That's
I
one
could
to
definitely
watch.
see the Panthers. Yeah.
Right? Could be wherever Sean Payton ends up. Like if Sean Payton takes a job with Houston, what's to stop that from happening with all that money and all those
Sure.
draft picks?
They tried real hard before.
Sorry. So what's your
I have
spicy
a
one?
very spicy one.
Just spicy one.
Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers okay. Wait.
Hear me
so
out.
this
Hear me
is
out. Hear me out.
assuming.
Well, yeah. So assuming Aaron Rodgers retires,
Right.
or they decide to move on from him or whatever, which I do not believe is the way the wind is blowing right now. But who's ever to say with him?
Who knows? Yeah.
And let's say they don't like Jordan Love, which they certainly aren't behaving like a team that thinks Jordan Love is the future.
Very true. They never have.
They still have a roster they feel like can contend. They feel a little bit bitter, like they could have been better this year, like they were on the cusp of the playoffs, and if they had snuck in as the 7th seed, they felt like they were hot and that they could have done anything. Maybe they chase it.
That could be. That's an interesting one. That would be really spicy. You know, it would be even spicier than that. Green Bay has the 15th overall selection. What if they sign Tom Brady and then use a first-round pick on a wide receiver?
I thought you were going to say Sean Payton. That would be spicy.
That would be spicy, but I don't think there's any need to move on from LaFleur.
No, they're not going to do that for a while.
It would be insane if they invested in a wide receiver as soon as Aaron Rodgers was out the building. That would just be absolutely nuts. So we'll find out. We'll see where Tom Brady ends up playing in 2023, but his 2022 is now over. We now have the Dallas Cowboys who have advanced, so I don't want to move too far without acknowledging that the Dallas Cowboys advanced. So we'll take a look at the playoff picture here in a little bit, but this was a dominating win by the Dallas Cowboys. But a lot of people are raising questions around the offensive inefficiencies of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the course of the season, putting a lot of it on Byron Leftwich, the offensive coordinator from Tampa, who was a guy that was picking up in terms of coaching conversations as well.
Well, yeah, he was a hot head coach candidate last year and decided to stay and try to develop more. And now the report, I believe Pewter Report is the first one I saw that had it, is that the Bucs are going to fire Byron Leftwich and that he's going to be the scapegoat for all this. And a lot of Bucs fans are calling for Todd Bowles' head as well, who before Bruce Arians retired, Todd Bowles was also a really hot head coaching candidate. So maybe that staff is there. That is one I'm going to have to listen to James and David at Locked On Bucs for that one, because that is one I guess I'm just not familiar enough with the Bucs to understand it. To me, I thought Byron Leftwich was kind of just Bruce Arians, but younger. Because he had been under Bruce Arians' wing since he was a player in Pittsburgh.
Right.
So that I kind of thought that was that. But if he's going to be the guy that sort of falls on the grenade of this Buccaneers season and all the rest of the staff gets to keep their job for one more year, I don't know. To me, it seemed like it was. Tom Brady just couldn't make the throws he used to make, and couldn't make NFL throws anymore. He's 45 years old. It's time. Yeah,
Byron Leftwich was kind of in kind of a lose-lose situation almost, where if the offense didn't produce, people weren't going to blame Tom Brady ever, so they were always going to fall back on Byron Leftwich.
Right.
But then when the offense does produce, he's not the one that's going to get the credit. Tom Brady is. So he was always just kind of going to get the short end of the stick. It's why I actually kind of wanted him to leave last year and take one of the opportunities. Jacksonville was a spot that was looking at him heavily for head coach. Eventually they settled on Doug Peterson. Clearly that's working out pretty well. But I was kind of hoping that Byron Leftwich would get another opportunity next year. Now he might get an opportunity somewhere this year if the Bucs do indeed move on from him, but it's probably going to be as a coordinator again. He's probably not going to ascend to the head coaching ranks this offseason with the way that this season went, which is unfortunate because it's not all on him. Like you mentioned, he had he had a statue out there as his quarterback. Like, what do you expect?
Right. And winning the division is a fairly hollow crown when, you're 8-9 and you get waxed in the first game. But 8-9 doesn't feel like a fireable offense, especially considering that they had Skeletor at quarterback this year. I don't know. If it were me, I feel like I would give him another chance, but I don't know the Bucs nearly as well as the Locked On Bucs guys. So go listen to them.
Whoever ends up with him is going to get a good coordinator and a good offensive play caller, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, and somebody with a lot of time in his career to learn more things if that's what he needs. Um, Look, daily fantasy is not very fun. We are going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and everything, and some Sean Payton stuff in a little bit. First, the playoffs are not over, and if you're like me and you are looking for a distraction from the heartbreak that you experienced this weekend, why don't you go on over to PrizePicks? Go to PrizePicks.com, or you can just download the app and you can play daily fantasy, but an easy version where you can just pick a few players. You don't have to fill out a whole team. You don't have to enter a pool of 6,000 people. Just pick a few players and whether they'll do better or worse than their PrizePicks projections. Just you versus the house. And you can find that at PrizePicks.com. I prefer it so much to the kind of classic daily fantasy format. I think it's way more fun. And you can get up to 10 times your money if you're right. So go to prizepicks.com or download the app and you can get a 100% deposit match up to $100 if you enter promo code locked on. That means if you put in $100, PrizePicks adds $100 more right on top of it if you enter promo code locked on at prizepicks.com or on the PrizePicks app.
All right, y'all. We appreciate you being here with us here on Locked On NFL, making us your first listen of the day. Luke, we're going to take a look at the playoff picture here. Now the NFC East has 3 teams remaining. In the NFC, though, the North and South completely out after your Vikings loss. My Saints never even, sniffed the playoffs. The Bucs got eliminated tonight. So let me ask you this. Let's start here with the NFC South. Who deserved to be in the playoffs more this year? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers winning the division at 8-9, or let's say the Green Bay Packers, who got left out of this year's playoffs.
Packers by a mile.
That
Here's
easy,
the deal.
huh?
Over the NFC South teams, yeah.
Over the NFC South teams, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Lions would have been really interesting to see. However, they just started so bad to start the season. It's just too deep of a hole to climb out of. And shoot, they almost climbed out of it, right? And credit to
almost
them,
got there.
But it's the season of moral victories ending in a moral victory. But yeah, I think if you put the Packers in the NFC South, they run away with that NFC South for sure.
Yeah, easily.
But of the NFC South teams, I mean, the Bucs were kind of the only team that even felt like they would maybe keep up with a playoff team.
Yeah.
But it would have been super spicy to see Carolina with absolutely nothing to lose, interim head coach, just a force of chaos, show up to the divisional round. Maybe we see the same kind of blowout we saw tonight, but that would have been weird in a fun way.
Yeah, that would have been a really fun one. So now we don't have any NFC North, we don't have any NFC South teams, but the NFC East is outstanding, and right now they take up 3 of the 4 remaining spots. The Dallas Cowboys, the Philadelphia Eagles, who of course were the number 1 overall seed, or the number 1 seed in the NFC, so they didn't play this week. And then of course the New York Giants, also a part of that. San Francisco 49ers being the only team left. So the NFC matchups next weekend. The Saturday matchup will be the Giants versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Sunday game will be the Dallas Cowboys heading to San Francisco. Both of these are just classic NFC matchups. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, a lot of history. Whenever you get to see like a Cowboys 49ers, I mean, just go back to like last year, right? But then also, go back to the 90s and even the 70s. But it's interesting. If you looked at like the betting odds or like projections and stuff for the NFC, it was kind of 4 teams for the whole time. It was the Eagles, Cowboys, 49ers, Vikings, and then everybody else was kind of low. Vikings pooped their pants. So the Giants get to be the benefactors of that, and they get to go to Philly. And in Crossover Thursday, I talked to Patricia Traina of Locked On Giants, and she talked about how the Giants really, like in the locker room, really wanted another crack at Philly. Like they wanted it. Nice. So I think they're going to come out feisty in that one and give Philly a run for their money. I think everybody and their mother's going to pick Philly to win, right? But I think New York's going to come out playing hard. They're mad. They want it. Especially because they played the 2s against Philadelphia last time, and they got they hung in that game better than they thought, and they're like, we can take them. So they're coming out confident. And then you go to the other side, and that's 2 Titans of the NFC. I really hope we get a good matchup. Wild card weekend kind of was in a lot of ways. It was sort of the discarding of the maybe that's a Cinderella teams.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Seahawks and
Yeah.
and
Some
the
good
Dolphins
matchups,
and
but
stuff.
but
Yeah,
you're right.
teams played hard, kept up, and you're kind of discarding the teams that maybe make an improbable run. And now it feels like this is an appropriate NFC.
Yeah.
And if the Giants can knock off Philadelphia, then Eli Manning magic is back.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely insane. Speaking of Eli Manning was the last quarterback to win a playoff game for the New York Giants until Daniel Jones won his playoff game this past weekend. Isn't that incredible? The Philadelphia Eagles could become
did nothing wrong.
The Philadelphia Eagles could become the 16th team since the AFL-NFL merger to beat a single team 3 times in a season. It just happened for the 15th time with the San Francisco 49ers beating the Seattle Seahawks this past weekend. So that was three games this season that they had won. And so the Philadelphia Eagles could do that with a win against the New York Giants. But has anyone in the NFL, has any coach in the NFL done a better coaching job than Brian Daboll has done with the New York Giants? I think maybe you could probably
I think the guy on the other sideline.
Nick Sirianni, right? Yeah. So it really
Yeah.
comes down to these two. Like, I think this is going to be a better matchup. I agree with you. I think that a lot of folks are going to pick Philly. I'll probably pick Philly to come out of this one, but I don't think anything is going to be easy about this game.
No, it's never easy to. I mean, look at like Bills Dolphins, right? Like that was
Right.
a 14-point spread, and that game was like tight because you just know each other so well.
Yep.
That you can't do what you normally do in the third matchup, and stuff just gets like wonky. I think in third matchups, the 2-0 team in situations like this is 21-14. That's so like they'll win more often than they'll lose, but it certainly goes down a little bit.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing can happen. It just gets wonky in the division. The division is always tough no matter who's who. But I could see this being an all NFC East kind of road for the Eagles, beating the Giants and then going and playing the Cowboys.
I'd love that to be the NFC Championship game.
That would be a sick NFC Championship game.
I think honestly, Philly versus Dallas or even New York versus Dallas would be awesome.
Yeah, and San Francisco is very fun to watch. I would love to see them too. Like the NFC is just guaranteed to be fun. This rules.
Yeah.
But to Nick Sirianni, I think what's always struck fear into me about the Eagles has been how many different pitches they have. They can really chameleon into so many different things. They can be a ground and pound team if that's what the game requires, right? And then they can open it up and throw deep to Devonta Smith. And then they can be an RPO team. And then they can also be a good screen team. And they can come out in one drive and run 8 times and then come out in another drive and decide to be an air raid team. Like they have so many different modes, and then they read option with Jalen Hurts. It's like, how do you keep up with any of this?
How do you even stop all that?
There's so much to prepare for.
That offseason acquisition of A.J. Brown may be the best offseason acquisition that we saw this past offseason. Has got to be at the top.
Acquisition of the year. Maybe Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. But I think now seeing how far this has carried Philadelphia, like the addition of A.J. Brown has carried, and you think about like the Hollywood Brown
duos in the league.
Right. You think about the Hollywood Brown acquisition in Arizona, which we never really got to see to its full strength with him and DeAndre Hopkins. The Tyreek Hill trade, of course, was a big one, along with Bradley Chubb, along with Teron Armstead, just major acquisitions in Miami. But that A.J. Brown one might be the single move that's paying the most dividends for the team that made that leap. The AFC, we don't have any division games in the AFC, but we do have
every home team won.
Yeah,
in the AFC, so it's one from every division winner.
Yep. So we have a interesting, what could be a very spicy matchup between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs. It could be very much like what we just watched Monday night, right?
It could totally be, or like Jacksonville is totally playing with house money, right? I mean, they were 3-8. Like they were talking about the draft, and here they are in the divisional round. Like if they give the Chiefs a run for their money, that's super cool. But I feel like most Jags fans are just happy to get a playoff win.
100%, and deservedly so. And then we get Cincinnati and Buffalo, which is going to carry a lot of emotion. It's going to carry a lot in this game. It'll be in Buffalo for this one, and so that's going to be a really, really exciting matchup between two very, very good teams, but it's gonna carry a lot of weight, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah,
don't know. I'm looking forward to both of those
there's,
matchups.
I think, whichever team wins is going to be saying "ball don't lie," right?
Right. So it'll be a big one. I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah,
Buffalo, like
sure.
what a remarkable game that they had in terms of. I mean, they had a whole bunch of giveaways, but still ended up winning that game against the Miami Dolphins. I don't think you can play that kind of game again against
I
Cincy.
think
You
both
turn the
teams are
ball
saying
over.
that.
Yeah. Oh
Both
yeah,
teams
that's a
are
good
saying,
point.
"Man, we got to play better than we played against that last." But again,
Yep.
both of those were the third time you played a team. So
Right.
who's to
Good
say?
point. Good point.
If you want to bet on any of those games, you can find that at betonline.net. BetOnline is your one-stop shop for all things sports betting. You can, of course, just bet the lines and spreads. You can do prop bets. You can build wacky parlays. You can even bet right in the middle of a game or event. And it's not just football. Of course, they've got basketball. They've got hockey. They've got whatever's going on, all the way down to cricket and all kinds of weird props. Go to betonline.net. Explore all the weird props and all the weird stuff that they have, or just bet on the NFL playoffs. I know I'm going to be. You can find that once again at betonline.net, where the game starts.
All right, y'all, wrapping up this edition of Locked On NFL. We took a look at the playoff picture. We spoke on Tom Brady. I do have one more potential Tom Brady landing spot that would be super juicy.
Okay.
Super juicy. The New York Jets. Then he gets to take it to the New England Patriots twice in his final year.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
That would be a catastrophe.
It'd be a catastrophe. Give me all of that. Give me
Bill
all that
Belichick
chaos.
just destroying him, just owning the Jets one more time.
Give me that.
Well, I'm already starting to see Patriots fans start to, you miss the playoffs, or you kind of go do the 7 seed and die thing.
Yeah.
A couple years of mediocrity, and people are going, "Is it time? Is it time? Is it time?"
Time to come home. All that stuff. All right. Speaking of departures, the probably one of the biggest stories this offseason is going to be the potential trade of former New Orleans Saints head coach Sean Payton. He has interviews lined up, or had interviews coming into this week lined up with the Houston Texans, the Denver Broncos, the Carolina Panthers, as well as the Arizona Cardinals. And we were waiting to see if maybe the Indianapolis Colts end up scheduling an interview there, waiting to see if maybe the Los Angeles Chargers job comes open, although rumor has it that Brandon Staley is meeting with the organization later this week, and that there is a real lean towards keeping him in Los Angeles and just making big changes in the coaching staff around him. Whether that's the right choice or the wrong choice remains to be seen. But right now, we know Sean Payton has already interviewed with the Houston Texans. He interviewed with them Monday night. He'll have the Denver Broncos interview in Los Angeles tomorrow, Tuesday morning. And then the Carolina Panthers in New York City will be later on this week. And then we'll see when and where the Arizona Cardinals are. But big opportunities here for a lot of these teams to add in I'll say potential Hall of Fame head coach, because I don't think that road is completely paved for him just yet. But they want to put him in position to do something that no NFL coach has done before, which is win 2 Super Bowls with separate teams, or win a Super Bowl, like multiple Super Bowls with separate teams. And that would solidify his Hall of Fame run. So, Luke, Texans, Broncos, Panthers, Cardinals, what's the best fit in terms of potential success down the road for Sean Payton?
That is a very good question, because none of them feel great.
None of them feel like you're going to find immediate success, right?
To me, when I think Sean Payton, my brain for some reason goes back to 2006 Sean Payton. Mm-hmm. It feels like 06, 09, of course, is where the Sean Payton offense was at its best, when he had speedy guys, a quarterback that could get it to him, that was still smart, that wasn't just heaving moon balls all the time, but is is able to maximize all of that talent that those teams had, Marcus Colston and Devery Henderson, all those old guys. And I don't see anything remotely close to that in any of these teams. So I think, okay, who is the best quarterback? I still have a weird feeling that Nathaniel Hackett did more damage, like singularly to the
Yeah.
Broncos.
Yeah. And
And so
clearly
maybe,
Denver felt that way too.
yeah. And so maybe you get Sean Payton in there and he talks to Russell Wilson and they figure out a better strategy and you can do the moonball offense. So maybe it's that. And they certainly have a couple of wide receivers that are worth writing home about. So I guess I'll go with Denver, but like I don't feel like any of those options are great. I don't know where. I mean, you know them better than I do. Where are you at with that?
The only thing that is an X factor for me is, does he love one of these quarterbacks in this year's draft? And I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible.
And then go to Houston.
Go to Houston or go to
Bank
Arizona.
on Chicago taking Jalen Carter. Is that his name? The Georgia guy?
Yeah, Jalen Carter, maybe Will Anderson, the Alabama pass
And
rusher. They could go after him. Yeah, exactly.
Then go get your quarterback you like.
But I'm not sure that the quarterback that Sean Payton would love is the same quarterback that the Chicago Bears would love. Like, I think a lot of people will assume that the first quarterback off of the board is going to be, Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. But what if Sean Payton's favorite quarterback in this year's class is Will Levis out of Kentucky?
Could be. And also, reasonable enough chance that's not the Bears up there when all is said and done.
Right. They could trade
competing
out
with what the Colts want or somebody else.
Yeah.
So,
and Houston also has the fodder to where if Sean says, "Hey, don't let me get leapt for my quarterback in the at pick 1," to where they could do that weird thing where you trade up the one spot to prevent the other teams from getting up ahead
probably
of
the
you.
best case scenario for Chicago.
Yeah, which would be great for Chicago.
Yeah. I could see something like that happen, but here's the deal. Does Sean Payton come back and take a job where he has to helm a long rebuild? Because that's what Houston is. Yeah, you get your number 2 overall pick and you maybe can get a quarterback, but man,
it's a big rebuild.
That is
there.
A JV team right now. That is an expansion team. Like that's discarded roster, and you cannot in one offseason build an entire roster.
Right.
That will take time. And will Sean Payton want to sit around and be the guy that helms a whole bunch of 5-12 seasons and then get replaced by the real guy who inherits the roster he built? I don't know if Payton's going to want to do that.
Yeah.
You're going to want to go to a team that felt like it was complete. And that's, I think, why the Broncos going into this season felt like, okay, this is our build. Here we are.
Yep.
Here's our contention window. Let's see how this goes. And it's a catastrophe. And hopefully Nathaniel Hackett was the cancer and now they've cut it out. But they felt like, we've got a defensive roster that played great and they can feel great about. We've got Russell Wilson. We've got these wide receivers. They've got, the Garrett Bowleses of the world, and they've got guys on the line they feel okay about. So I don't know. I feel like that's the quickest route to contention. But if he does want to go, draft his Bryce Young and sit on him and say, let's see if we can't contend by, 2025, and he wants to do that, I'm sure they'd love it.
Yeah, yeah. What if he goes out there, drafts his Bryce Young, signs Tom Brady? You get 1 year, Tom Brady mentoring Bryce Young or whatever. I don't know.
Houston Texan,
that's me being wild. But I do think that Houston offers the most assets to get good over the course of the next few years. Denver probably offers the closest you're going to find to immediate success. Arizona, for me, is somewhere right in between that. It could fire off either way, depending upon the health of Kyler Murray.
And touch that organization.
But I don't know that I would do that. Yeah, I don't think I would go that route either. So, and then the Carolina Panthers are there. I just think that the premium of premiums that Carolina would have to pay to get Sean Payton from across the division is going to well overweigh what they would then be able to do once Sean Payton's in the building, right? Like the trade itself would hamper their ability to progress. So I could see that getting in the way. It's going to be very interesting. It's going to be a very fun week. It's going to be a very, very fun week. And it's going to be a very fun week here as we continue on with the Locked On NFL podcast every single Monday through Friday as well. We appreciate you so much for coming through and joining us as we talk through some playoff conversation, some Sean Payton conversation. Where's Tom Brady going to be? Don't forget to let us know your thoughts. If you're watching on YouTube, you can let us know in the comments. You can also reach out to us on Twitter as well. Luke Braun at Luke Braun NFL, myself, Ross Jackson at Ross Jackson Nola. We appreciate you so much for making us your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, go and check out the Peacock and Williamson NFL show. Get more of your news around the world of the NFL with former NFL scout Matt Williamson and NFL analyst Brian Peacock. We appreciate you as always being here with us for another episode, and we'll see you here soon. Tony and James are going to take care of you on Wednesday. Luke and I will be back next week. See y'all soon here as a part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.